Employment assistance is designed to help Americans when they lose their job. When the pandemic hit, billions were lost to potential fraud. Consumer investigator Carice Jackman digs into the numbers to find out where the money went and what's being done to protect your tax dollars in the future.
But why do you think we were not prepared for this?
Well, I think nobody could have predicted the spike in claims that we saw during the pandemic.
Millions of Americans out of work.
We've already lost our apartment.
There's nobody to talk to. It's impossible.
The federal government handing out hundreds of billions in unemployment aid.
Probably the biggest thing I've had to deal with life as so far.
But with that assistance came significant fraud.
For the victims who were denied benefits, these cyber criminals got the money first. And our research shows, as the chair noted, 40% were unable to pay their bills, 14% were evicted, 33% could not pay for food.
But where was the breakdown that allowed this fraud to happen? Flashback to the spring of 2020. The federal government, as part of the CARES Act, dedicated more than $872 billion through the Pandemic Unemployment Insurance Program. But this September, the Department of Labor's own Inspector General said from March 2020 through April 2022, more than $45 billion was paid out in potentially fraudulent claims. The tactics used by fraudsters range from people filing for benefits in multiple states to using the names of the deceased, to suspicious email accounts attached to claims. In their semi-annual report to Congress, the Department of Labor's Inspector General said it was a combination of factors that led to such rampant fraud. The unprecedented infusion of federal funds into the unemployment program, combined with stolen personal information, plus the program's weaknesses over the last several years. Now, the Inspector General's report looked at fraud losses throughout the entire system, but we wanted to break it down statewide and look at what states found when it comes to potential losses due to fraud. Millions of dollars lost for families in dire need of help. So we reach out to more than 24 states to find out how much money they lost due to fraud and identity theft over the last 2 years. We heard back from about a dozen. All of them lost over $1 million, some much more than that. For instance, in Pennsylvania, state officials say they found an estimated $6 billion in fraud across all unemployment compensation programs. Michelle Evermore is the Department of Labor's Deputy Director for Policy at the Office of Unemployment Insurance Modernization. Her department is now targeting changes at the federal and state level following a scathing review from their own Inspector General. What is being done right now to ensure that we can tackle the next wave or the next emergency?
We have these tiger teams that are composed of fraud experts, equity experts, and they really examine all of the bottlenecks in the system and try to figure out, okay, what can we do to promote timely payment while also doing the kind of work that we need to do to ensure that no funds go to fraudsters?
Experts say tracking and fighting fraud has always been challenging, but they say those challenges must be addressed and taxpayer dollars must be protected before the next emergency strikes and Americans turn to federal programs for help.